Fowlers Facts time. We're going to dive deeper into the SMX standings and playoff implications for the 450 class. Covered 250s last week. We bring back our statistician, Clinton Fowler. Let's first continue to look at top 20. Those riders get into the motos at SMX automatically. What are we looking at in the 450 class as far as who's going to get in?
Yeah, so first things first, the top 20 projected cutoff is 163 points. It's actually currently where Clinton Nichols sits. That's going to be the key piece for people trying to make the top 20. Now, the most important piece, arguably, is we've got 9 riders that have mathematically clinched into those top 20 playoff spots. And by mathematically clinched, what I mean is no matter what happens for the remainder of the year, what people score, these guys are in. And those 9 guys, Chase Sexton, Aaron Plessinger, Cooper Webb, Adam Cincerulo, Jet Lawrence, Dylan Ferrandis, Jason Anderson, Ken Roxon, and Eli Tomac. Those guys are in. Then we've got automatic bids. There's 6 riders that have won a Supercross race. They've won a moto. Obviously, Jet's the only one that's won a moto here this year. But there's only one guy in those automatic bids, Justin Barcia, that hasn't mathematically clinched. But as we know, guys, he's coming back this weekend at his home race in Unadilla, so I expect that to be the case. But JT, one of the things that I think is really interesting here is what is the mental edge for getting into the top 20 and getting those seeding points now?
Well, no one wants to race those LCQs. That's going to be the most critical aspect of it. And remember, you'd have to race the LCQ at all 3 rounds. So that's not going to be any fun for anybody. So just knowing that you're in those main events and being able to focus on the actual racing ahead of you instead of that just traumatic experience. You travel across the country and you may not even be a part of the night's racing. So I think getting in there, that's where you're seeing all these guys that are on the bubble really pushing and all the extravagant distances they're going to just to get into these races, because yes, locking in one of those 20 spots is probably the most important aspect of many of these riders' seasons entirely.
Yeah, Shane McElrath said the reason he came back is he knew he'd probably at least get top 30 and have the LCQ to get in. And he said he wants no part of the LCQ at these 3 races. So you're exactly right, JT. Guys that are even sure they're going to make the event in some capacity don't want to do it to the LCQ. They want to get in. Anyone else in position here to clinch? We think, as you said, Barcia is going to be back. Anyone else on the horizon there?
Yeah, with Unadilla, I think after the weekend's done, we're going to see Justin Barcia. I think that's almost a guaranteed lock, whether he races or not. And if he races, he's going to score a handful of points and lock him in. The other one, which I think is a really great story, is Freddy Noren. I've got him needing about 10 to 12 points, depending on how other folks perform. So Freddy Noren, I think after Unadilla, is going to be one of those 9. He'll join the 9 that have clinched into the top 20.
Anyone else that we're watching maybe with an outside shot at it?
Yeah, I think there's 3 riders that are really interesting to watch in these last 3 rounds, guys. The first is Jose Butron. I think he's almost a guarantee to be in the top 20. He's currently 22nd. He needs 31 points to meet that top 20 cutoff. I've got him projected at 50 points, so I think he's going to end up 19th. So I think he's good to go. But guys, there's 2 that I think are really interesting to watch. Phil Nicoletti and Derek Drake. Both those guys, they're 27th and 28th. I've got them projected as 23rd and 24th. But a great moto or 2 could change that dynamic. And so, back to your point, JT, I mean, nobody wants to go to these LCQs. I can imagine a guy like Phil, that's the last thing he wants as well.
Right. And they don't want to be there. But I think it's incredible that a guy like Jose Butron is almost a shoe-in at this point. And if you had asked him going into this Pro Motocross series, or if you'd asked me, I would have said there's slim to 0 chance that he is going to make the SMX playoffs. But he has been fantastic this entire summer. So a rider like that, who I don't think he's ever signed up for a Monster Energy Supercross race before, could be in the most prestigious playoffs that this series has ever seen. So it's just one of the storylines this summer. And I think that is an incredible thing for him at his age. He's in his 30s now to be lining up and have a locked in spot. That's incredible.
This is starting to feel a little more real now, isn't it? With only a month to go before the playoffs.
Yeah, it sure is. I mean, it's getting down to crunch time in these final few spots. So we'll get to see if guys can make that top 20.
Yep. And don't forget, like I said, Colt Nichols has the beta deal for next year, but he can still race his old Kawasaki, and he does plan on coming back for at least one more motocross round. So Just to give you an example of how badly riders want to lock themselves in, they'll do whatever it takes. All right, we are off to upstate New York at Unadilla. A couple programming notes. If you're watching on Peacock or the SuperMotocross Video Pass outside of the US, everything's pretty similar to usual. Race Day Live presented by motorsport.com at 10 a.m. Eastern, and we start racing at 1 o'clock. But please note, we will not have halftime break or a halftime show at this event. We're just going to go back to the 4 straight hours of motos. And the reason why is we want to fit into a live TV window we've gotten with the good folks at NBC. We'll have 2 straight hours of second moto coverage on television starting at 3.
Hi folks, Lee Diffie from NBC Sports here. If you truly enjoyed what you just watched, you can get more news, interviews, and highlights by subscribing to the Motorsports on NBC YouTube page. You can get it all, so go for it.